They were all due yesterday.
Okay.
They're generally pretty quiet places, libraries. The absorption of knowledge, a largely silent endeavor, only periodically punctuated. But even amid such a peaceful pursuit,
She can read that one too. No, that's not nice.
conflict can surface.
They're wondering who owns the books.
A strange question, but a serious one.
Who bought them and what was their motive for buying them.
At stake, the future of Wyoming's library. It's owned by the city, but run by Kent District Library, or KDL, a system that operates 18 libraries in various communities.
I don't think it's really a battle. I think they just want to determine who really owns the books.
That's a good question.
James Miller is one of the city council members who wants an answer. If the city owns the books and wouldn't have to buy a new collection, the council may decide to break away from KDL.
I want to see the taxpayers receive the best service they can for the dollar.
And now, despite an opinion from the city attorney that KDL owns the books,
Books do belong to KDL.
the city council wants another opinion and has hired an outside expert.
We want somebody who is completely unbiased.
Trying to figure out, what the problem is here.
It is sort of a dizzying dilemma, one patrons want solved too.
Maybe it's time for a meeting of the minds.
A meeting of the minds. What better place to hold it? In Wyoming, Susan Samples, News 8.
Man, this drives you crazy. This is nonsense, man. Nonsense. It's like a Chinese torture.
Residents within earshot of this train crossing on Harlan Street say they are being railroaded to the brink of insanity. For the past couple of days, this signal has been clanging and flashing nonstop.
Well, you think about getting a shotgun and, or something like that and maybe blowing it down, but you can't do that. When you come home, you want to relax and stuff like that, what do? Listen to this?
Perhaps even more irritating than that noise is the frustration residents have in getting anything done about it. Calls to city commissioners, to the police department, even the railroad that runs those tracks, have all resulted in next to nothing.
I've made approximately close to 100 phone calls to Grand Rapids Eastern Railroad, to no avail.
Bob Bancheski is a landlord for residents near the tracks and says he's lost one tenant already because of the noise and still can't get it shut off. More than a nuisance, Bancheski fears neighbors will start taking the signal for granted.
It is getting to a point where people are so used to it, they're coming right through now. And I think if something's not done pretty soon, you're going to have a tragedy here. And,
make them to come out. I can just ask them to.
Butch Braley says the signal has had problems all 10 years he's lived near the tracks and senses the rail company in charge of turning it off is as fed up with it as the neighbors are.
I think they're tired of it. I think they're just tired. That's why they don't come down and shut it off as much.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. My name's Jeff, your humble host. I can't hear you. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to boot camp. Oh, Mrs. Butterworth, taking your own sweet time. Set impossible limits. I expect you to strive for those limits. 1, 2, 3. The goal is for you to push yourself as hard as you can. If you're not on the next station when I say exercise, you owe me 25 push-ups.
Has our obsession with getting fit come to this? That we would willingly submit to a workout of this intensity?
Come on, Dave, you're lily dipping. Have a rough night.
But these 17 civilians show up every Wednesday night at 1800 hours, that's 6 o'clock to you and me, to get whipped into shape by Jeff Bird, former Marine Corps sergeant.
Move it! I mean, you can't. There is no can't. Let's go!
Now, this is the way it goes for a solid hour. All sorts of different exercises, but one purpose, to make the muscles burn.
Looks like gravity's getting the best of you.
Oh yeah, that's my first time.
How do you like it so far?
I'm tired. I am so tired.
But do you think that excuse is going to fly with Sarge?
Can't and quit are two words that we don't accept. You don't know if you can do something until you try, so I don't accept the word can't, and I don't accept the word quit because there's nothing you can't do if you put your mind to it. So
The thought of quitting comes up quite often during the hour, but then Mr. Motivation is right there in your face.
Come on! For some reason, they like someone yelling at them and telling them what to do, and pushing them along past a point where they would normally stop.
And getting to that next level of commitment is what it takes to get fit.
It doesn't get easier, but you do build up your endurance.
This is a total body workout. They're getting aerobic capacity in the running. They're getting upper body and lower body strength conditioning. They're basically getting personal training with an attitude.
You can't compare it to anything. It's in a class by itself.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1.
There's something funny about Americans in keeping time. At the Howard Miller Clock Company in Zeeland, they have lots of time, but saving daylight can be rather alarming. Advertising manager Richard Cooper didn't quite punch the clock, but he did turn back the hands of time and gave us his thoughts on why we love to count our seconds, minutes, and hours.
We're really the only species on Earth that knows that we have a limited amount of time and that we have to use it well, so people have always been fascinated with time.
Twice a year, about 800 clocks here at Howard Miller are set to compensate for daylight savings time. It's a distinctly American tradition that, interestingly enough, began in the days of Ben Franklin.
He was in Paris. He noticed that the Parisians stayed up very late at night, but yet would shutter their windows and sleep in the morning. And the frugal Mr. Franklin found that rather appalling that they would waste all of that precious candle wax.
And when time is money, a penny earned is a penny saved, even if you're only using it to buy more time. In Zeeland, Raj Chauhan, News 8.
Hey, I think the weather today is just about perfect for racing. There it is. That's the one. What we're talking about is the athletic ability of the dogs. Can they pull? Will they pull? You know, if everything falls in order, you'll have a good team, you'll have a good run. First rule of sled dog racing is don't let go. Good dog. We don't have to teach them to go, we have to teach them to stop. What we want them to do is learn what a race is about. We don't really make them run hard. They're ready. The dogs do better in colder weather.
I'll buy Sunday. It's all right, Sunday.
Let's go. Let's go. Terry, you're a good boy. You're a good boy, Terry. You know, it's hard to get an athlete that'll work for dog biscuits.
The clinking of spurs and the rapid fire of a six-shooter. All sounds of yesteryear, unless you're a member of the Cowboy Action Shooting Society. A rootin' tootin' collection of men, women, and children who have a hankering for days gone by.
Next shooter, KJ, Left-Eye Lizzie, Schofield Smith, Uncle Hoss, and Stinky Steve.
The names may be out of the Old West, but the idea for this society was born out of modern-day California. And now, more than 50,000 people a year play cowboy for a day.
Well, there's two ways to look at this. You can either look at it as a shooting match where you have to dress up like a cowboy, or you can look at it as a costume party where you have to do some shooting. Either one works.
Let's start with the dress part of the program. What about the outfits? There's a certain regulation regarding those?
Yes. Either dress as an 1800s cowboy or from the old B movies, the things that guys my age watched on Saturday mornings.
So if John Wayne wore it or shot it, you can use it?
That's right. John Wayne can do no wrong.
I'm constantly looking for new outfits or new ways to add to it. It's fun.
And then there's the shooting side. There are all sorts of variations to the competition, but in this particular stage, at the sound of the buzzer, you have to hit targets with 5 rounds out of each pistol, grab your rifle, unload another 10,
Pressure's on, boy, the pressure's on. Pressure's on, hell.
hoist a shotgun, let it roar 4 times, and then back to the rifle for a single shot. All the while, the clock's running. How can you tell how quickly they're shooting?
Timer tells. When we press the button, the timer starts. When their last shot, the timer records that, and it stops.
Are there penalties?
There are penalties if you miss, 5 seconds for each miss. And if you shoot the targets out of order, you can get a 10-second procedural.
And up and down the line, each cowpoke brings a different resume to the gunfight.
So when was the last time you shot?
25 years ago.
What were you shooting at?
Deer.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
See, that's what counts.
Well, I'm better with the rifle than I am with a pistol.
Dead eye or just plain blind, it doesn't really matter. It's that you play the game.
Why'd you get involved in this?
My husband is into it, and the first time I came down to watch, somebody talked me into picking up a pistol and shooting, and I just really liked it. I heard that target go ting, and that was it. I was sold.
Who knows if a cowboy lurks deep within you or me? None of these folks did until they strapped on a shooting iron and started plinking targets shaped like buzzards and buffalo.
I visit about 30 houses. Always clean. I think it's a pretty unique service. It's the #1 service and #2 business. Mainly what we do is we come in their yards and on their property and pick up after the dog. They just don't want to do it. It saves time, like some yards they take about 15 minutes a week, 20 minutes, and when you have 3-4 dogs, it's really a lot to do, especially when you have kids. The main idea, actually, Diane started it. Her neighbors, the couple was always fighting who's going to do it this week. And someone said, if you pay me, I'm going to do it. And that's how everything started out. We use like a dustpan with a big handle and a rack. It's actually the best way. We tried all kinds of tools. The first time we did it was with the scoopers, so where you go down on your knees, and it was too close, too painful. And someone has to do it, yeah. We are done.
It's the time of year